Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4PlayerNetwork.com. With the onset of our first ever Fantasy Critic League, this has been a fun and exciting year for us. Get our takes on the latest games, industry news, and weekly league updates by joining us for our live recordings every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central on twitch.tv/4playerpodcast, all spelled out. Audio episodes launch on all podcast services Monday mornings at 9 a.m. Central, along with the VODs on YouTube, but Patreon and Twitch subscribers can get the episodes a day or two early each week. No matter how you prefer to tune in, just know that everyone is invited to jump into our lively community Discord at discord.gg/4player. But enough about that, let's get down to business. Hey everyone, welcome to 4Player Podcast, episode 764. It is July 27th, 2023. I'm your host, Nick Henderson, joined, as always, by Brad Simons.
Hello.
Nolan Hedstrom.
Omelette du fromage.
And Christopher Davis.
Mirepoix.
Okay, at least somebody said it. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's been 2 weeks since we last recorded, so thanks for sticking around. Last time we talked, we just did like a big long conversation. I think that was the last episode was where we had Carlos on, right? We talked about Fantasy Critic. That was the whole thing, and Nolan wasn't here. Okay, I don't know why, but it feels like it's been like 4 or 5 weeks since I recorded a podcast. It feels very strange.
I think that's somewhat kind of true.
Well, I also
I watched
last week.
I watched They Clone Tyrone last night.
Yeah, how is that?
It's quite good. Recommended.
Okay.
Right.
Also, real quick, before we start talking about random TV and shit like we've been doing for the past 30 minutes before we hit record, Gamerbeck's right. I really should be, along with everybody who's on this podcast, talking with me about video games. I should take a moment to welcome chat as well, because chat joins us for these little adventures every week when we sit in to record this on Twitch. So welcome, chat. Welcome to the show. We're going to talk about video games tonight. I don't know if you know about that. We like video games.
I recommend all our audio listeners to you don't have to watch us live, but check out our Twitch archive so you can put a face to the voice if you've never done so. I feel like most people probably seek that out. I have an easier time listening to newer podcasts once I match faces with voices. I've been listening to a podcast recently where I listened to probably like 5 episodes and I'm like, my God, these people they're 2 people and they sound so much the same. And then when I put faces to them, I'm like, okay, they don't sound that much the same. I got it. It helps.
Yeah.
It helps.
That's a great point.
You can also just watch the YouTube version I produce every week.
Well, I mean, I think that's what he's saying. Watch the YouTube version of the podcast, because Chris Davis goes to the effort, puts all these videos up on YouTube. So if you don't catch it live and you don't necessarily listen to audio recordings, all of these VODs essentially are available both on Twitch, on YouTube. Check it out. And like Brad said, put a name or a face to a name. It helps.
Hey Nick, not to derail.
But you're going to
anyways.
anyways.
Who do you think looks the most differently than their voice? Like, who do you think people would be most shocked by the visuals of based on the audio that comes out of them when they look us up for the first time?
I'm tempted to say you or Crispy. I don't know why.
Any reason why, or is that just you throwing it out?
I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, I've been talking with y'all about video games for some of y'all for over 12 years. It's hard for me to answer that question objectively. But Mr. Papa Shot in chat says it's me. I have been told by some people that I have a great radio voice. So it's probably shocking when they see me and I look like a fucking weirdo or nerd or whatever.
What?
I don't know.
No, Nick. They know you're a nerd from just the audio.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But anyways, guys, we have a lot to talk about tonight. We're gonna play a little catch up. We're gonna talk about Fantasy Critic, of course, in a second. But I was kind of going over the itinerary for tonight's show and just looking at all the games we're talking about. And this is gonna sound weird, but I was like, this is a very colorful podcast tonight in terms of all these are some of the brightest games coming out all year. Like we got Pikmin 4, Gravity Circuit, Viewfinder, Exoprimal. It's wild. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about tonight.
Very diverse.
And it's a very diverse, colorful collection of games that we're going to talk about. I don't know what that means. It doesn't probably mean anything of value, but I just thought it was interesting.
It means you really like classifying things, grouping things.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's probably why I'm so obsessed with
Finding
like
themes.
Google Docs. Shit. Yeah, you're right. I do. But before we get into it, what's that? What's been up? Brad said he didn't want to talk about Twisted Metal before the show because nobody's here has actually watched it yet. But it is
stop
out
trying to
today.
force it, bitch.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
right.
I watched the season 1 of The Last of Us.
Oh shit!
Oh, that's
Yeah.
what
He finally did it. He finally did it.
You're
Well,
like
it came out on Blu-ray last week, so that's why
I did.
I watched it.
Oh God, you psychopath! Sorry.
What did you do? What is happening?
I got my copy.
No, it's fine and normal that Nick bought it. One, he knew what he was buying because he'd seen the show.
Oh.
Two, he's got like a tattoo and it's in his like top whatever of all time. You had never seen that show. For what? At this point, I'd be surprised if you've even played the fucking games because I'm that shocked. I feel like every week to find out some shit about you.
Okay, first off, how dare you?
God.
Second off, I have played through The Last of Us 4 fucking times. Okay. Like
I think
I'm just
fucking
saying,
game.
I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised at this point.
Okay, I do get what Brad is saying. It is a little strange that you specifically held off on watching the show instead of watching it with the rest of the world as people were losing their minds about the show.
Because number one, I did not have HBO Max, and number two, I wanted to see it the best quality possible, which means I got to get it on Blu-ray.
If you used your willpower for good, you could change the world, Chris Davis.
And instead I spin on this fucking podcast with you motherfuckers. Yeah.
It's true.
Well,
it's
sure.
true.
I'm not saying you still have to
Everybody shut up. Everybody shut up. Chris Davis, I just want to know, what'd you think? Did you like it?
I liked it. I enjoyed the changes they made. The whole Bill arc was really good. I really liked that. It did feel like it was missing like 2 or 3 episodes. Because at a certain point, it kind of just stops trying to go into the deeper aspects of the story, and it feels like it almost runs out of budget.
Well, I think it runs out of budget in the sense that like it's as far as television goes, it's a new unproven IP. So you see that a lot with like first seasons of television. They're not sure if they want to like go all in on something that's unproven. And then once everyone loses their mind about it, it's like next season that second season, they're going to split that second game into like 3 seasons, and they're going to put fucking ungodly amounts of HBO money into it.
Oh, they absolutely have to, and they should absolutely go into original stories that involve characters that are not in the games.
I think that show was very well done because it managed to do both. It managed to tell a story that was very faithful and felt respectful to people who wanted this to see that original source material in a new medium, but it took a lot of risks and did a lot of unexpected stuff, and it did certain things that were familiar in different ways, which I think is what a good adaptation should do. It's pretty rare. So yeah, I've talked about it a lot.
We've all talked about all this.
We've talked about it a lot. I'm glad you watched it. That's all I'm saying. I'm glad you watched
I like how they were very logical with the world they produced, and like you could easily tell where they had to be careful about spending their money, especially in how they developed the story. Like everything that was happening in Kansas City, for example, like you could tell they were trying to be very, very cautious about how they put cash around. But
I think that's a really good example of a production studio that knows how much money they have and they have a very good grasp on how they can spend it most effectively.
Yeah, and they should be applauded for somehow finding a way to make David creepier. Like what the fuck? They made him even worse. Creepy.
What's up, Brad? You look like you want to say something.
No, I'm glad. Okay. Hey, Chris Davis, it's on topic. What's like the last like TV show you waited for? Or no, it's not even TV show. Movie or TV show you waited for like physical or whatever. Where you bought it and you watched it and you're like, "Oh, I fucked up."
The last one of those was Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh, you bought it to watch it? Oh, but you had to have heard that a lot of people didn't like that one.
I heard it was the lesser of the Thor sequels or films.
That is the movie that kind of made me stop caring about the MCU.
Definitely not the worst Thor movie.
You buy most MCU stuff, or
I did up until Love and Thunder. I have every movie up until maybe a movie or two before. I don't remember the order after Endgame very well, but like I have probably, what is it, 20 something Marvel movies, and then at some point you can just see, if you look at my collection, it just stops. I think actually after Spider-Man Far From Home, I don't think I have anything post that, and that's not because I think there weren't good movies after that.
No.
I think it was just because Thor: Love and Thunder was was pretty close after that, and when I watched that, I was like, oh god. And then I just
Nolan?
What's up?
I didn't watch the Eternals.
I saw you nodding. No. It just I'm so surprised anytime I ever hear someone saying that they're buying like any sort of like movie or show, which I understand, like especially these days, right? Like why someone would want to own like a physical TV show, but it seems like such a dated thing to me these days. Right?
I buy the things that I love, like the like I loved The
You
Last
love
of Us.
20
So
Marvel movies. You didn't
well,
love
I
20
mean
Marvel
these.
movies.
I'm saying over time that has kind of become. I mean, I used to kind of by
these days.
default.
Okay, sure.
These days,
You
I
mean in the
slowed down
past
quite a
2
bit.
years?
And it kind of goes hand in hand what I talked about with gaming, where I said I'm going to try and make a conservative effort to like actually go not entirely digital but mostly digital. Like I'm only going to buy, like I looked at my list and I made a list of I like kind of like made an inventory in my head, like which games here am I going to like actually buy physically for the rest of the year, and there's only like 3. And I'm playing like 20 25 more games
You have a
before
Google
the end of
Doc,
the year.
Google Sheets for that kind of stuff too?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just add a column. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna check the ones off that I'm gonna buy. Yeah,
You gotta
same
link
sheet.
that shit. I want to see. I
Okay.
want to see. I bet it's like it's well produced or whatever.
Okay, I'll link it. I'll put it in the show notes. Fuck it.
I bet your Google Sheet has good production values.
I mean, I don't want to build anyone's expectations, but it's probably.
Oh, it better, but you better work on that shit tonight
It's
before
got
you
lots
link
of-
it. I want to see some like crazy borders, some shit I didn't even know the program could do.
It's got. See, I don't know if it's gonna have that shit, but we'll see.
It'll at least have like conditioned formatting and different fonts and things like that.
Different
some of
sized fonts? Do you have different sized fonts?
I have different like font styles and colors depending on certain things.
Oh, different font styles? Now you're really getting crazy. Okay, cool. I'm excited to see it.
All right, I'll share that in the show. I'll share that in the show. I don't fucking know.
Pikmin 4.
I mean, well, okay, so we did a whole
Fantasy
episode
Critic.
2 weeks about Fantasy Critic, right? We got Carlos on. We said we were going to do that mid-year because Carlos isn't on a lot, so we were going to have him on to kind of catch up with him and see what's going on.
Man,
we don't
I
have
wish I
any
would have been on that show.
So this is your chance.
Everyone should have been on that damn show.
But alas, that did not happen. Crispy wasn't on either, right? I don't think he was.
Somebody was on.
And Crispy's not here tonight because Crispy is watching Oppenheimer and IMAX.
No one was on?
I was, you motherfuckers.
Well, I remember there was definitely
multiple times we were like, oh, no, that wasn't there.
Well, no, I mean, I was not kidding when I said I feel like it was like 5 weeks ago. I don't.
It was 2 weeks ago.
The only person I can tell you was on that show concretely was myself and Carlos.
All right.
I forget everything about every podcast as soon as we stop. I hit save and drop it in our Dropbox. I just forget everything we talked about that night and who was there. Yeah,
keeps life interesting, I suppose. Sorry, Nolan. I did not mean to forget. I knew somebody wasn't here, and I just couldn't remember who it was.
Yeah, 2 people.
Was Crispy on?
No,
I don't think he was. That's when I was thinking of maybe.
Okay, and then Crispy's out tonight because he's watching Oppenheimer and IMAX the beach.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't mean to out him for that.
In a while. What the fuck?
Yeah, we'll catch up with Chris.
Playing D&D, I bet.
Crispy is feeling pretty good about his Armored Core decision, his Armored Core Fantasy Critic draft.
His Hot 78.
Whatever.
Okay, so real quick, I have not yet watched the Armored Core stuff that they revealed the other day. How is it looking?
Are you on media blackout?
No, I've been busy.
No, it looks fucking cool. It looks fucking cool.
Like it looks cool.
It looks like an Armored Core game, but it looks like, when I say it looks like an Armored Core game, but like a really pretty one, but still an Armored Core game. It doesn't make you think that, oh, Armored Core is different now. It makes you think like, oh, maybe I should have been playing Armored Core. If this is what Armored Core is, I should have been playing Armored Core because this is sick.
Okay. So I read something. So I don't know anything. This will be my first time trying an Armored Core game, right? But I read something from someone on Twitter. I don't remember who it was. I apologize.
I know exactly who it was. You're talking about the
Okay.
Fextra Life controversy where he said the graphics are mid, and
No,
everyone's
no,
like,
no, no, no,
"What the
no,
fuck?
no, no, no.
Wrong with
I'm
this fool?"
it was someone who I follow and someone whom I respect
Oh,
and
well, there's the
trust.
controversy.
But they were talking about Armored Core and being like, there's a lot of people who don't really know what Armored Core is, right? So they see this and they're like, that looks cool, but they don't really have a grasp on what Armored Core actually is. That's me. I don't know anything about Armored Core. So he said, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised that levels in Armored Core 6 take like 90 seconds on average to finish.
Some of them.
And I'm like,
Some of them.
what? I had no idea.
So
I don't know if that
even
makes
get
me
into the real
more.
controversy. There was real
I mean,
drama.
people bitching about graphics.
I'm not
No,
familiar with the
but
drama.
this
Give me
was
the
like
Spark Notes, Brad.
it was higher level stuff. So Fextra Life is like a pretty like well known YouTuber. If you've seen like a guide on some RPG about a build, you've seen probably a Fextra Life video. Or if you've like
Mhm.
wikied some shit, you know, the Fextra Life wiki
About
is like
Armored
a very
Core.
popular wiki for
Yeah.
like just if you've played Elden Ring, you've probably seen a Fextra Life wiki, right? So it's a really popular but anyways, he's one of the people who played for like 6 hours and did like a video preview or whatever, right? And he's
Right.
like pretty glowing about it, but then all of a sudden he's just like, you know, I don't know, the graphics are kind of are serviceable at best, and was just kind of like slagging on the visuals. And I think people uh, and and people I think the line on Twitter was, and this was by like other known people who were just kind of like openly like antagonistic about this. They're like, what the fuck? The fact that he's saying what he's saying over the video that we're watching at the time is fucking actually insane. Because when he's
Oh,
saying that, it looks fucking awesome. And you know, just sort of that, you know,
I
kind of
think I mean I don't know specifically what he's trying to get at necessarily, but I can't help but feel like this generation specifically, especially the longer we go, like there haven't been a ton of games yet that I feel like have really tapped into like the power of like the PS5 or whatever, because so
that's
many
probably
games
what he was saying.
are between, you know, last gen and current gen, so they're kind of splitting the difference. Um
Which COVID
like
did not help with.
well, COVID didn't help with, and you know, it's not uncommon, right? I think the jump from the PS3 to the 4 was pretty significant. The 4 to 5 a little less so, and the fact that we're also splitting the difference between these platforms, it's less noticeable. So I think a lot of people might be getting down like, oh, maybe the PS5 is not as big of a deal, you know, as they made it out to be, and you know that might
I don't know
be
about
explaining
that,
it.
Nick. They've sold 40 million units.
Well, I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's not successful. I'm just saying people might be bitching about graphics more because it's not as stark of a difference going from PS4 to PS5 as quickly as it was going from PS3 to PS4. I remember being on PS4 launch night, Nolan, if you remember that. Like I was like blown away playing like that Killzone game, Shadows Fall or whatever. I was like, this looks fucking amazing. Like, the game wasn't great, but like I just remember being like, I can't believe games look this good now. This is just reality. And
I just
I
remember
have
Astrobot.
and Astrobot. That was pretty amazing. But you know, like I don't think we've really had many games on the PS5 yet, except maybe Demon Souls comes to mind, Miles Morales comes to mind. There haven't been a ton of games yet that make me go, "Damn, this PS5 is pretty crazy." I think we'll get there, but every time we get an Armored Core game that looks like it could run on a PS4, probably, it's just less impressive. So some people tend to bitch about it more. I don't know. That's my soapbox, I suppose. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Armored Core sounds cool. I need to go watch that video. But here's my question for you, Brad, because it's been
Hmm.
kind of a running joke about Armored Core and Crispy's like the people are ready, and Armored Core. We've all been saying Armored Core is never broken out of like the '60s on Open Critic and whatnot. Does this make you worried about Armored Core? Maybe
Worried.
not. I mean, worried is maybe a strong word. Are you now more open to the idea of this Armored Core scoring higher than the series has
No,
ever
I've
scored?
literally always said, of course, it will score higher than what the series has been. I've always
Well,
been
you
that.
always like to be like, well, go.
There is no chance that this game does not score far higher than the last Armored Core game because we're in a different time.
But are you saying like
And
75? Or are you saying like, are you being like this could be in the 80s?
no. So like last time we had sort of like a math stream or whatever. I was saying that I think the range for this is like anywhere from like 75 to 85. But I feel like the ceiling for this game is like a mid 80s, while Crispy's like, no, this shit's gonna hit 90s. And I'm like, that ain't gonna
Nothing
fucking
hits
happen. This is a
90s.
series that has never made it out of the 60s and 70s. I don't think there's ever been an Armored Core game that's in the 80s. Maybe like one or two, maybe, but not even. So I think there's going to be a huge jump because of From Software respect, but this isn't, because it is just another Armored Core game and not like some reinvention of Armored Core. It there's no, it's not going to jump 20 points overnight. It
So there's
might
nothing
jump
about
10
this new
points
footage.
overnight, but it's not going to jump 20 points overnight
So there's
because they
nothing
still made an
about
Armored Core game.
so there's nothing about this new footage that makes you think this is going to be any different than previous Armored Core games.
That's not what I said either. I think I I think it's, what I'm saying is it's going to be an Armored Core game. It's going to be a very pretty Armored Core game, but like some Armored Core games are worse than others. Like
Well, I
the
know, but
last Armored Core 5 is like one of the worst reviewed, I think, in the series. So like I certainly think it's going to be better than that. But I'm
I guess what I'm
saying a
saying
series
is
doesn't go from getting a 66 to a 91 or whatever overnight. It doesn't
right.
happen. If they were completely reinventing the series, maybe,
I
but
guess
they're
that's what
fucking
I'm getting
not.
at. I guess that's what I'm getting at. I was trying to ask if anything in this footage makes you feel like they're reinventing the series, and that's not the
No, of
case.
course not. Now, it's
Okay.
been a long time, and I'm sure they've learned from their Souls games that, streamlining certain things is like kind of, nice. And I think it's been such a long time. And because of what they learned through the Souls games, it's definitely going to be a much friendlier Armored Core game than what you're used to, which those games can be like very difficult, impenetrable, punishing. This one's probably, and not in like a fun Souls way, and like kind of like a really frustrating way. And I think this game might still have a little bit of that, but I mean, I think in general, just like Elden Ring is much more, is much friendlier than like the first Dark Souls or Demon Souls or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's been a long time. It's very pretty, and I think the ceiling is more mid 80s. That's all. That's all I was ever
Okay.
getting at. Um,
Okay. Okay.
I'm saying
So
it's not a dangerous Fantasy Critic game like he thinks it is.
okay. So speaking of Fantasy Critic, I don't want to sit here and dwell on Armored Core for too long, but there was definitely some hubbub about it this week, and there's some previews out there, some footage. Sounds cool, but there's not a whole lot of new updates to talk about as far as specific. We've got some reviews that have come in, so there's some more points on the board, and some things have shifted around a little bit since we last talked about Fantasy Critic. So I guess we can start there because I guess Chris Davis Viewfinder came out, so you got some points there. We're going to talk about that tonight, so I guess maybe save that for a little later. The Expanse is getting reviews now. It's not on the board yet, but I saw 3 80s in a row, like just hard 80s.
Yeah.
So
It's
it
not
sounds
bad.
like that's not bad, especially considering Telltale's history and kind of where they.
The problem might be for a while is that this is an episodic release, like a classic Telltale experience. So we may not get final reviews until like late September.
So how does that work?
You need to be careful here by what you say. Are you saying that what you bid on is the entire series?
Well, that's my
Yes.
question. I mean,
I bid on the series.
I don't think
And
Open
the whole
Critic
series comes out this year?
Yes.
Yeah, it's coming out this year.
So
into September.
that's a really good
Are they
question.
going to update based on that?
Do they even let it chart until the whole thing is out? I mean, I don't know. Right now, it doesn't have enough reviews one way or the other, so I don't know.
I think they just chart as the reviews come in.
Okay. So we'll see how that. We're not going to have a full picture of that until, like you said, September sometime. But the first episode, people seem to like.
Yeah.
Gravity Circuit, which is that game that I'm going to talk about tonight, the Mega Man homage, I suppose.
Enjoy it while it lasts, Nick.
Was at a 90 and is now down to an 88, but it only has 8 reviews. Only 6 of which I think are from top critics, so 2 of them don't even count. So like every time a new one gets added, I've seen it jump point or 2 points. You know, and it's weird. It's one of those things where I'm not going to feel comfortable with it, with the score it settles at, until there's 15 or 20 reviews. But like none of the we haven't seen IGN or Game Informer or any like the big outlets or anything. Like a lot of reviews that are in so far from smaller. But I mean, like here's the thing: Gravity Circuit is one of those games that'll be in like next month's issue of Game Informer. it's one of those like smaller games that just like they wait a month and it gets dropped in there. I'm sure that'll be in there. It's sitting in at 88, which I'm happy with. I do think, having played that game in its entirety, which I will talk about tonight, I think the potential is there for it to stay where it's at, or even creep back up to 90 if it gets more reviews.
Okay.
But it's also one of those games that, like, I'm shocked that it doesn't have more reviews.
You
than it
better
has.
hope. Well, in this year, you can't be too shocked, but you better hope that it stops getting reviews, because that's your only chance of it staying high.
I don't think that's the case, man.
I think
that
Brad
game
is actually right.
I mean,
I'm saying that because historically, look at the scores of indie games. It's not normal. You know,
Okay,
be happy
that's-
and enjoy it.
but I'm not going to be happy until it has more reviews, because I don't think it'll stay
That's
this
the
way.
fucking game, though. Oh,
I
yeah,
do
but
not.
I mean,
I
be
do
happy that you found a game that might not get the reviews, enough reviews to drag it down, because it's rare for an indie game.
No, but that's my point. I think because like Fuga got a review today. Fuga 2, the game on your list, right?
What?
It has
Ooh,
18
what was it?
reviews now. I don't know, but I mean,
What
it
is it
didn't
at
change
now?
your same score it was at. I checked.
Oh.
Like it's got to a point where it takes 2 or 3 reviews with significant variations in score for it to actually change the average. Your game is at that point. Gravity Circuit is not yet at that point. So even if it takes 3 months, I think Gravity Circle will end up in the same spot, right? It'll have a handful of reviews and it'll move one way or the other. One way or the other, I think the game's fantastic. I don't think it's going to have a particular. I don't think it's going to drop significantly. It may drop a couple points, but I'm not going to feel comfortable with the score until it has more reviews, because I don't consider this final one way or the other. So we'll see how that goes.
We've already talked too much about your silly little game. My question is, why is nobody bidding on anything? This shit's getting boring, and I can't do it because I don't have any.
What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do, Brad?
Who wants to trade?
Oh, let me bid on a shitty game. I'll trade you
Okay.
Dave the Diver.
Okay, well here's where you want some spice, some much needed spice. It's been a little dry the past few weeks, I suppose.
Sure. Bland, you could
Okay,
say.
this is the
I don't think
headline.
dry
This
the
is a
opposite of
headline.
spicy, but
This is a fucking headline. I don't even. I Red Dead Redemption, that remaster or remake or whatever the fuck it is, heavily rumored, is in.
I mean, those two words are very different for this loop.
I know, which is what I was really.
Fuck you,
I can say. See, this is no one's making this face and raising his eyebrows
Well,
and
hold
shit.
on, Nick. Remind me, who has the most money?
I know,
Yeah,
that's my
fantasy
point. No.
draft.
Here's my thing. Here's the thing. I'm gonna be honest. I usually try to keep this stuff pretty close to the vest because I feel like I have to at this point. But I almost bid on that today for the sake of introducing some spice, right? But I was like, what is the point? Nolan
making a big
Well,
play.
Nolan what?
Nolan doesn't want to hear this. He making a big play. If I was in your position, Nick, maybe I would do it, because
No.
payoff is huge.
Here's the thing. I don't have a lot to lose, and the payoff would be huge. But the moment it's on the board, no one's gonna snatch it up. It doesn't fucking matter. He has an unconditional drop.
That's not necessarily.
He has an unconditional drop. He can.
You're right.
I don't.
But
he can pick.
But he probably has stuff on his list that he is considering dropping, and that goes away if he picks that up on something that may never.
I don't think Nolan has much on his list he's considering dropping.
No, but I
Look at
mean,
this.
that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. I think he said as much, that he's keeping an eye on stuff. Last
By
time
the
we
way,
talked about all this.
Now that we're talking Fantasy Critic, Nolan, I apologize. I remember us talking about your Fantasy Critic list on the on the last episode. Yeah.
Has Red Dead 1 ever had a remaster?
No, it's never even come out on another console.
Yeah, this is probably just a remaster.
Because the code was a pile of shit, they couldn't even port it to PC.
Have y'all checked and seen what they listed as in
Yes.
Open Fantasy Critic? It's Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
It's listed in Fantasy Critic as Red Dead Redemption remaster / remake or whatever it is. Like,
well, that's the problem, is they don't know. The only thing we know about this is the fact that, yes, it's been rumored for a while, and then the thing that just happened today or yesterday, whenever it was Rockstar's website. In the code, it's updated with Red Dead Redemption Rockstar Presents version, and that's all we know.
So here's the thing: if you pull like the bidding and Nolan getting it out of the mix here, it's a risky prospect altogether. One, because we don't know for sure. For me especially. Because one, they could announce it, and it could just be a lazy port, or with some slightly higher res assets, right? It could be a complete remake to make it more like Red Dead Redemption 2. kind of like what they did with The Last of Us. But like that's taking a bit of a gamble. And also thinking about the last quote unquote port or remaster that Rockstar did. They outsourced out and did the GTA trilogy, which was a heaping pile of garbage. There's just so many factors. There's so many
Here's
factors.
the thing, Nick. I brought
know.
this up last week, whenever we talked about this briefly, or I can't remember. They've already remade this game.
Yeah,
it's
in
Red Dead Redemption
2.
2. All of the assets exist already. They just need to make the missions.
Oh,
Well,
man.
Everything's already there for them to
If they
remake this
use
game.
It all depends on what terminology they use. It's so crazy because
Correct,
if you look
it
at like
is.
the Metroid Prime remaster, they call it remaster, but there was a lot of
Wait a
conversation
second.
about like, wait a minute, this was a fucking remake.
Wait a second.
But
Just
Go ahead.
hypothetical here. Is there any chance that, because they call it Rockstar Presents Red Dead Redemption, is there any chance at all this is Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 seamlessly as one giant product? Like,
maybe
tell the story of Red Dead Redemption 1 in the Red Dead Redemption 2 engine, and then just have it flow into the story of Red Dead
Maybe,
Redemption
what's
2.
the
I guess it'd be
difference? I mean-
backwards. It'd be backwards, I guess, because it's
It would be
a
backwards.
Prequel.
That
That would be
prequel. Red
awesome.
Dead Redemption 2 was a sequel.
That would be awesome.
well, but is that like a new product though? Like if it's just a remaster of the first one combined with the second one.
No. Like they would have to remake the entire like story of Red Dead. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 has the map and it has the environments and the animals and all that shit from the first game, but it has none of the cutscenes, none of the story,
Correct.
like
But
all that stuff.
they're all going to be in engine now. They're not going to be, pre-rendered.
Oh man.
So
Um,
they have
so
everything
all-
they need
Yeah,
to make
they
it
do.
one seamless thing.
All I'll say is this: if Nolan gets this game, it's over.
It's
Nobody has a chance. So like, I feel like
Well, to be fair, I think it's already
someone
over.
needs to force this. No, that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily
It's
true.
not. It's not true. Yeah,
It's
I
closer
know.
than you think. But if he gets Red Dead, it's over, like 100%.
Well,
So-
as far as my list goes, I still don't think I have any hope of beating Nolan.
You
Even if I
might with
got
the
this
fucking
game.
Red Dead Redemption remake.
But also if I make the wrong call and I get this game somehow on my list and it does turn out to be not what it sounds like,
Who cares?
it's complete.
Did you think you were going to win anyways? That's my
No.
honest.
But here's the thing, Brad. Here's the thing. Again, I have to say this, and there's no point in me trying to like keep this to myself, right? Because no one knows. The moment it's on the board, the moment someone bids on it, Nolan has more money than God. He will snatch it up, knowing that he could drop it the moment it turns out to be not what it.
It's not really true. We still don't know how trades work. We've never done a trade.
Our only hope at this point is they announce it for next year, which could
We
happen.
still don't know how trades work. I'm saying this because my league is done. So it's up to y'all. Y'all can fight over it. We still don't know how trades work. Trades might not be based on like a end of the week sort of thing. So someone could sell a game to get the money lead, in theory.
Hey, Brad, your list may be full, but there is nothing stopping you from offering a trade.
No, I mean true. 100%
Hey, if you guys
true.
want Tekken
But
8?
like everyone's so fucking anti-trade, and so many of my games already have scores.
The few trades that were proposed devolved into like a huge everyone was like, it got heated.
We were looking
nobody
for
wanted to
spice.
trade it.
We were looking for spice, and it almost happened.
God, I almost offloaded Redfall before it happened,
dude. But you overvalued Redfall, and that's why it didn't happen. Think about that.
Think about how crazy that is. I didn't think there was any chance in hell that Redfall would turn out the way it did.
Didn't you really want a System Shock? All those games were fucking bad or mid or whatever. None of those overperformed.
I would have taken System Shock over Redfall any day of the week.
I'm pretty sure the last time I checked, there's an open trade on our fantasy league.
Really?
Oh shit! Nolan, I checked before this podcast. Nolan's doing it live. Nolan is doing it live. Brad, you're gonna need to read this to me because I don't want to pull it up.
You don't want to pull it up? I'm pulling it up.
I'm pulling up right now.
Y'all just know what's going on.
Up.
Dave the Diver for Bomb Rush Cyberpunk and $1.
Oh no, and $1.
Hey, what if Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is a 95?
It's true.
It
Brad,
could be.
Hollow Knight is not a 95.
Dude, if Carlos, if y'all are really looking for trades, I think Carlos is getting gun shy on Silk Song.
Ooh.
Yeah,
But no, but
interesting.
like, oh shit. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think he's stupid personally. I think if he's gonna have any chance, he needs to keep that game. But he might be talked into it. I'm just saying we don't know how trades work. So if Red Dead Remake comes out, in theory, someone could sell a game with a really good score and maybe get the budget before the bidding time ends. We honestly just don't know how they work. I should probably like ask around and try to find out, but I'm curious. I know I'm being chaotic right now, but I just want some spice, man. No one's been bidding on shit.
We're in a little bit of a slow because we're just kind of waiting to see how the rest of the year shakes out, right? We're in that weird spot.
Yeah,
So
we should move on though. We did a whole show about this recently.
we did. So go check if you're itching for hearing more about our Fantasy Critic and you haven't listened to last week's show, it's 763. Go check it out. Also, if you haven't, check out our initial draft from the beginning of the year. It was a lot of fun. They're both up on podcast services, up on 4playernetwork.com. They're linked in the Discord Fantasy Critic channel. Go check them out. So before, I guess, is there anything else we want to say before we get into games? Like I said, not a lot of headlines this week that I think are worthy of like deep discussion. But we do have 4 games to talk about that are all pretty good. So let's fucking do it. Where do we want to start though?
Doesn't matter. What we got?
Pikmin 4.
Pikmin 4. We're doing Pikmin 4.
Should I bring
4.
Henry in here? He's asleep.
Wake him up.
So Nolan, it sounds like you've started it.
I've not. No.
Oh, okay.
I have.
Okay, Brad started it. You're farther than I am, I'm sure. This is my footage. I'm only like 3 hours into it, maybe. I started it last night.
Further than you.
So
what level are you in?
I just went to the second major area. Like I can't remember what it's called. Something starts with an A. Somebody help me. I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay.
Why would you ask me that?
No. I know
Arizona.
But I do think I just got to the point where kind of like the newer set of systems and mechanics that I think are unique to this game were introduced.
Yeah.
So I will preface this by saying,
how familiar are you with the series, the different?
I have only ever played Pikmin 3, and it made my top 10 that year. I loved that game, but I also don't remember a lot about that game specifically and how it differs from this, because this does feel very familiar once I got into it and started doing it. Because I think
okay, so
for the most part, all of the Pikmin games kind of are similar for sure. They all share the same concept and styles. But yes, every game does introduce some new mechanics. This one, once again, I have not played it yet. I'm definitely going to because I do love Pikmin. This one seems to have introduced a few more mechanics than any game before. Like it's definitely added a decent amount of things.
It's also like more simplified. It doesn't quite have as many. So like the Pikmin 3 on the Wii U, which is where I played it, had all the different, like you were controlling 3 different dudes, and you were kind of like doing different things around the map with each one at once. You were even like sending people to like places on the map while you switched back to another one and were doing things. There was a lot more like management going on. This
also,
Pikmin,
wasn't there like a time thing in that game?
Well, there's a time thing in every game, but like I guess the way it's implemented in each game is a little bit different. As far as so Pikmin 3. Well, the first Pikmin, are you all familiar with the first Pikmin? I mean,
familiar, but I never played it.
So that's the game where like the whole game was on a timer, right? You had, I mean, obviously every day has like every Pikmin
day
game
night
has, like,
cycle.
The day night cycle.
There is no night cycle in the original Pikmins. This is the first game with a night cycle.
Yeah, get all your Pikmin before the end of the day, or they're going to get eaten, or gather them all, or they're going to get eaten by monsters. Get all your tasks done before the end of the day. But the original game had you have 30 days to basically complete the game, or I mean, there was a hard time limit on the whole game. That was the only one like that. 3 kind of reintroduced some of that like grander tension with like getting all the having enough fruit to like
that's what I was
successful.
thinking of.
But like pressure wise, it really was nowhere near as the same as like the first game.
Yeah,
and they introduced some new mechanics with sort of like managing your like your group of Olimar and friends or whatever, right? And two had introduced sort of like the underground areas. So Pikmin 4, I would say, is like a super streamlined, user friendly, like newcomer.
It seems pretty chill, at
least
so far.
Pikmin, because it doesn't have like the grand timer like the first game. It does have like the sort of the day timer, of course. It has the underground areas from the second game, but there's no timer once you go down there. Um, and they're all like very like sectioned off. Like I heard one person sort of describe them almost like shrines in Breath of the Wild. They're like
Yeah.
small little like 2-floor little mini dungeons where you solve a few puzzles, get a few treasures, rescue
the
your
sh-
survivor, and then you're out. And it's nice, but like it's the dog that changes everything in this game
Yeah.
because like Pikmin's always been about like kind of managing your guys and sort of getting them to where they need to be and like, oh shit, I got to collect them, there's one over here, I got to get all these guys over here. But now you can just hit a button, everybody jumps on the dog, all your Pikmin jump on the dog, and then you're just one solitary guy unit, and that's all you have to worry about. It just moves everybody around.
What I will say that potentially, and once again, maybe it's y'all mentioned more streamlined, and maybe it's just there were definitely many times in Pikmin 1 and 2, and I can't remember if 3 was the case, but definitely 1 and 2, where especially when there was that bigger time limit, because if you weren't back by nightfall, anyone who wasn't in the ship died. That you'd be rushing to get back, and one of the Pikmin would get caught on something, and it's like, well, I can't slow down, I can't stop. That guy's fucked because the AI didn't have him path around an object, and he got stuck.
That's no longer
an
issue. You don't even have to be back at your base. If all your Pikmin are just on your dog with you, at the end of the day, everything's fine. In the cutscene, they'll make it back to the base.
The question is, do we like
you can
that though?
move your base. So that's a big question, and I'll answer it in a second. But let me just say, like, how friendly this shit is. You can move your base to all these different places around the map in an instant. You could see the places on the map where you can move your base. So instead of having to like manage a path like far out into a level, you just get to another base spot, and basically all the shit you're kind of exploring is all of a sudden close, which changes a lot because now there's not like a big danger of getting back to the base because everything is pretty close. It's super friendly. On the whole, like getting through the game without losing any Pikmin, which was like a sort of a challenge thing people would do.
Oh yeah,
especially in the first one, that was very difficult to do because, like I said, it's easy. Like Nolan said, it's very easy to get a Pikmin like stuck on something. Very easy to lose a Pikmin. In this game, it prompts you. It's like, dude, if you end the day now, you're gonna lose a Pikmin, or the day's over, but there's still one Pikmin out there. Do you want to rewind? You can rewind a minute. You can rewind 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Get that Pikmin and just end the fucking day or whatever. Like you can even rewind in the middle of a stage. It's so user newcomer friendly, and I feel like maybe
it's baby's first Pikmin.
Something is a little lost. There's too much quality of life. There's so much streamlining. It's kind of what's happened with Monster Hunter. I feel like it's losing a little bit of its identity, sort of like that frantic, nervous nature, the time pressure, whatever, of exploring these worlds, of getting through the game, and now it's almost too chill.
So what I will
really
say,
good for my 5-year-old.
Yes, I can only imagine. But so it does seem like a weird trade-off because I agree with what you said, because I do really miss, and I'm still early, so some of that tension may come back at some point. I'm not sure how they're going to start ramping up the difficulty if they do, but part of me is going to miss that if that is the case, if it really is kind of this streamlined experience. But also, this game is just such a joy. It's I forgot how much personality and just it's so much less stressful. It's almost like a new experience playing a Pikmin game because I don't feel that tension, that I kind of welcome it at the same time. I don't know if I'm going to feel that way after playing it, because I've heard this game takes upwards of almost 30 hours to finish, depending on if you want to do everything or not. So I'm not sure if I'm going to feel that way after playing for 30 hours.
There's a really cool unlockable mode in this game where you might get some of that more difficult tension.
Oh, that's that Pikmin 1 mode, right?
Yeah. There's like a Pikmin 1. There's a Pikmin 30-day,
interesting,
or so like a where you play as Olimar. I mean, it's like they put Pikmin 1 in this game, or like
I almost feel like they should have done that backwards. They should have been like, play it with the timer and then unlock the.
No. The way I think the way they did it makes sense, because I feel like it's a series that has always gotten a lot of respect, but I don't think it does numbers right.
It's never broken into the mainstream. because
Yeah,
of
yeah.
it's
Which I don't know if that's gonna like work
moved.
necessarily. I don't think making it more simplified or easier is gonna make it sell better necessarily
Well,
because
here's what I will say.
it
I think choosing to if they did in fact like hold on to this game and time the release, like because a lot of people have been saying this game has been finished for years, maybe, and they've been kind of holding on to it. Like if they
yeah.
chose to release this strategically after Tears of the Kingdom, when people are just like, "Oh my God, Nintendo can do no wrong. Nintendo's amazing. What's the next big Nintendo thing?" Like this, Tears of the Kingdom might be kind of the perfect thing to kind of like boost people's interest in a game like this. Might be the only thing that can
Well,
really make it appealing to other people.
it gets people charging their Switch, right? But a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
people are still playing Tears of the Kingdom, I think.
I'm still playing Tears of the fucking Kingdom. Fucking A.
Yeah. This seems like a weird if they really were holding onto this game for so long, which you do hear stuff about Nintendo doing that. Why didn't they just hold this for the fall? Because it seems like their fall lineup is a little light, and this would
Weak
have
at
been
the
a
moment.
good like,
Well,
oh,
they have Super
everybody's
Mario
finally
Wonder
done
now,
with Tears of
so
the Kingdom.
Yeah, I
That's
think
true.
I think
That's
they
true.
are trying to space things out. I was about to say we do have Mario coming out,
Yeah, that's true.
and obviously they at least for the most part try to not step on their own toes.
I am pretty excited for that Mario game, but I also feel like
Of course.
it doesn't feel like enough to cut like because Tears of the Kingdom huge. I like as excited as I am to play a new 2D Mario game. It doesn't feel as grand. Like I was like, is this really kind of what they're hanging their hat on for the end of the year? I mean,
I
maybe.
don't
I
think
mean,
they're
maybe.
hanging their hat on this. They're hanging their hat on this the amount of switches that are out there and the fact that people are
That's
just
true.
going to be buying games. But like,
for
I
sure.
think they understand it not to be like the next big thing, and it
Right.
definitely doesn't look like that at a glance. I think people are just confident, and Nintendo's probably confident that it's a good game, and people are probably going to be happy with it. Also,
So
there was a time when 2D Mario was outselling 3D Mario, and it
that's
was
true.
around the time of New Super Mario Bros. Wii was outselling, Galaxy because they were multiplayer games, and the Wii was like a multiplayer party family
Right.
system, right?
Don't get me wrong. I'm
Yeah.
super excited for Wonder. I'm just trying to figure out what their strategy is here with Pikmin. I will say, the kind of the stuff that feels new to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I don't know as much about the history of Pikmin, but like kind of it seems like kind of the thing here that they've really done is outside of the dog is that you play a member of a crew who's actually looking for Olimar, and you're saving all these people who are coming back to your ship, and then they all do have their own like things that they do for you. It's like the scientist is like developing tools and items and stuff that you
Tools.
could
Yeah,
buy and
there's
take
like
out into the
progression
field.
systems now.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't feel like that. So that was never in Pikmin before, was it?
No, no, not. I
At
mean,
I don't
least
not
think
to
to
it
this
this
is, no.
extent.
level. No, I mean,
And then you're
you're
training
literally
your
leveling
dog
up your
too.
dog's like stats in this game. There was
Hmm.
never
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's also a bit of a trade-off. It's an interesting trade-off even early on because like one of the stats, like the first stats you see on the list is like improve his ability to like lift heavier objects. I'm like that obviously seems like it might be worthwhile. But my dog actually died in one of the first like big like battles I went into, and I was like, oh man, it'd be really great if he could heal himself or if he had more health. So I was instantly torn between do I want him to move heavier stuff or do I want him to be able to take more damage? There's even an option you can unlock that allows him to heal if he's resting, if he's not actively doing anything at the time. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like I like having these choices. It just
That
seems
stuff
like the
is cool.
trade-off might be
But
for some of the more hardcore
the
aspects of the game.
I feel like the game needs to ramp up in difficulty in order
Hmm.
to um it needs to ramp up in difficulty in order to
Period.
like
Yeah.
just because I mean all this progression and stuff and all the quality of life, you know, it needs to push back on the player. Otherwise, yeah, it's just a really like what's the point of the fucking game? It's
Right.
just
Um. So I think we're both pretty early, Brad. Right? Or
yeah,
I,
I mean,
I'm,
we're probably around the
I'm
same. I
I
mean,
am
the
trying
thing
to
is, I
like.
have not really been playing much of this. I've been watching Henry play and kind of like taking over when he's like frustrated with something.
Yeah.
Um, which he's been really stoked about it.
Yeah.
Even when
That's cool.
he's he's not great, or sometimes he'll be too scared to like go without his Pikmin, so it's just him and the fucking dog. And I'm like, dude, you need your
Hmm.
fucking Pikmin. You can't do a lot of shit without Pikmin, dude. Even though the dog
Yeah.
can do a lot. But he's
also,
weird. I mean, he's a 5-year-old. Like, there was a ice.
He's
gate.
weird.
There's an ice gate, that you
Mhm.
need to use ice Pikmin to like knock down because
Yeah.
everyone else will freeze. But
Mhm.
he's so excited to watch everybody else, like him, the dog, the other Pikmin, freeze when they hit that wall that he doesn't want to knock it down, and he doesn't understand. I'm like telling him, look, you can't progress in the game until you knock this wall down. He's like, but look, it's so funny when they freeze, and he'll throw his Pikmin, and it'll freeze him, and then he'll blow the whistle, and he's like, oh, the ice shatters when he blows the whistle, and it's like, oh, 5-year-olds are dumb, but what are you gonna do?
Real quick, you had mentioned kind of the underground areas being akin to like Zelda shrines, which I like that
Yeah, kind
comparison.
of. Yeah.
And the first thing, and this is my first time playing a Pikmin game that has these kind of underground areas, and the first thing it kind of made me think of, because I've done like 4 or 5 of them now at this point, I see this shrine comparison because they're not, so far they don't seem very diverse visually speaking, but like they always introduce new like puzzle elements and stuff to keep things interesting. To me, it almost felt kind of like going into like a painting in Mario or something, but without like the ginormous like visual differences from one to the next. But I like the shrine comparison better. But the first thing my mind went to was like going into a Mario painting. Like
Not quite that
it's
complex.
not.
Yeah.
It's not quite. That's why I like the shrine comparison better. But my brain, the first place it went to was
In
the
Pikmin 2,
paintings.
they were more like little mini dungeons. This
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
they're definitely much slighter, more puzzly.
But they've been cool so far. Like I like kind of the way they've mixed things up from one to the next.
Yeah.
Also,
It would
the
feel
level
really
up is
good
called Blossoming
if-
Arcadia. That's what I was trying to remember earlier.
Yeah. It would feel really good if the difficulty ramps up to kind of meet where the player's at now. Kind of like in Bayonetta or something, right? It's like,
Right.
we're going to give you so
Mhm.
much more control and like power versus like Dante from like Devil May Cry, but we're going to throw more at you now
Yeah.
that you have all this power. And
Scales
I
a
feel
little
like you
bit.
have to do that. So I hope it does that.
So I'm probably going to try and like kind of beeline through this game, because Baldur's Gate is looming on the horizon, and Starfield is coming out not too long after that. So as excited as I am to play
of a
this,
game to like rush through just because Baldur's Gate's coming. You
well,
own
I'm
it.
just saying. No, I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
I'm not in a huge rush to get back to Zelda because I know it will always be there, and I still have an ungodly amount of content left to do in that game. So this seems like a much more, I can knock this game out much
This is
quicker
a
than I
nice,
can knock Zelda
relaxing
out.
game, and it scratches nice itches. Like, it's definitely the kind of game. Well, I feel like Tinykin was the same way. Funny enough, where
Yeah.
the idea was for Henry to play, but then when he gives me the controller, I have like a hard time giving it back. And I'm like,
Yeah,
let me just play a little bit more. You need help,
Yeah.
okay? I got to do this for you.
for
Just
sure,
because
for sure.
you get kind of hooked on it. It's nice.
So my point is, I think maybe next time we talk about it, we'll have a much better idea of kind of like the difficulty curve, if there is one, that kind of thing. So we'll see where it goes. But for now, why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we have 3 more games to talk about. So pace things out kind of nicely. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk about Gravity Circuit, Viewfinder, and Exoprimal, and then of course we'll close out with the 4-player minute. So don't go anywhere. God, welcome back to the show. All right, video games. We're here to talk about them. Which one? Like I said, we have 3 more games to talk about. I don't know where to go from here.
Viewfinder.
Why don't we talk? All right, fine. Fuck it. I love how like Brad occasionally is like, "Here we go." He's like, sometimes he's like, "I'm not going to suggest anything at all. It's up to me." And then when I finally decide like I'm about to make a decision, Brad's like, "Fuck you. We're going to talk about this one." All right, let's do it.
I was just getting to the point, and then you
Viewfinder.
stretched it out even more.
I know. Viewfinder.
That's what she said.
This game looks rad. Tell us about it, Brad.
It's a first-person puzzler. Puzzle them up. Solve them up. About taking pictures, and then you put those pictures in the world, and then whoa.
So the only thing I've seen about this game so far, Brad, the initial trailer, and then I saw a very short video clip of someone making a very dumb comment when something happened, and then the person goes in and they lower the audio volume all the way down.
Yes.
And
Okay.
that's
I've
all I
seen
know
that.
about this. Okay.
Can I before I continue?
Sure.
Just a disclaimer here. I'm solving puzzles that I already know the answer to very quickly. There's a lot of puzzles in this video. This is not a long game. I did finish it. It's probably like
Oh,
5 hours long. I don't know. I think that was my playtime. So if this is a game that's a lot of like, whoa. So
yeah.
maybe if you are interested in this game, don't really pay attention too closely to what's happening unless you're not
Maybe
sold on
I'll.
this game, in which case maybe pay attention because it's pretty wild. Um,
Every time I watched footage of this game or when I played the demo of it, I was constantly going, "How the fuck do you code this?"
from
Like,
beginning to end, like the thing that they do is never not like remarkable. Like it's always like, this is crazy. How did they
Hmm.
do this? And you're right. How did they code this? How did whatever? How does this thing exist? This is wild. Just because you've never really seen a game do anything about like this. It reminds me of, though I will say, in more ways than one. And it's funny that Nolan brought up the I turned down the audio thing. When I first played the demo, I was like, yeah, this audio, what the fuck? This writing, what the fuck? It's not. I feel like it's not fair because I feel like Portal set a certain standard for these types of games, and
with
while I
with
think
with,
that
with
while I
narrative and
think this tech is like equally as interesting or remarkable, or even more so than like say a portal gun, it the rest of it is not quite on that level. It reminds me a lot of my experience with Superliminal, like
mm,
a couple years ago. Remember
Yeah.
Superliminal?
yeah,
That's the
I
one
played
that's
through
all
that
about
recently.
perspective, where like you hold up, like a game. I mean, like an object, and it becomes big in your view, and you drop it down, and it is huge, right? And they do a lot of really cool puzzles with it and stuff. And like again, that's a game where the tech was always kind of remarkable. But I feel like maybe I don't want to be
Everybody's been
negative.
chasing that GLaDOS, you know,
But see,
cake
that's the
shit.
thing. It's not fair, right? Because that game is like, it's not just like a remarkable like game, remarkable puzzle game centered around like a kind of a mind-blowing like piece of tech and idea, but it's also one of like the best written, funniest games ever made. It's not fair, right? And to
Mhm.
expect an indie developer that comes up with a cool idea for a puzzle game to like meet it on that level, I feel like it's always going to be a bit of a letdown. And while I say that there's some really cool puzzles, and that again, that tech is always amazing, it's just it doesn't quite get there for me. Like I never really care
Hmm.
about what's happening in the story or the world, and I'm just not as invested in anything outside of like solving the puzzle in front of me. Even though the game is trying to like throw a lot of that stuff at you, it's hard to care because in my opinion, it wasn't that engrossing. Like I just wasn't absorbed into that aspect of the game. And like sometimes I think maybe these devs are like really good at like have creating this idea and this good tech, but
Mhm.
that doesn't necessarily make them like amazing like puzzle game designers. Which is
Right.
again
Sure.
also unfair because there are some clever puzzles, but I think of some of the most memorable puzzle games like a Portal, like a Talos Principle, like a The Witness, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And like it's not just like the basic concept or like the trick, like the gimmick or whatever that makes those games great, right? It's not just the portal gun and those cool puzzles. It's that like it's the writing and the story, but it's that this game that's about solving puzzles becomes a game about like escaping and using that gun, that portal gun, in ways that there's no way this game wants me to do this. And when you're like that whole game is like this very memorable experience, or like the Talos Principle, really great puzzle design, but it's not until you start like really breaking out of like, oh wait,
The most basic uses of
there is
those.
a lot more going on here than just the puzzle in front of me. And same thing with like
Mhm.
The Witness, right? I feel like this game doesn't have that. It just has the puzzle in
Mhm.
front of you, and because of that,
Which is why I do think I'm glad you
it
brought up
doesn't sit with the
Superliminal
greats.
because
It
it
doesn't sit with the
definitely
Hmm.
greats.
feels like a Superliminal in that regard. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
It has really cool tech, but just like everything around it, like I don't know. Like when I played this demo, and maybe this is I'm trying to figure out how to put this because I feel like Portal is one of the greats because I mean, aside from the writing and stuff, like mechanically speaking, it's one of the greats because the concept of a portal gun is just so easy to wrap your head around, right? You put a
Sure.
portal here, you put a portal there, you can go through it. You can obviously learn how to use that in more complex ways. This is so freeform, and like every time I take a picture or I do something, and I'm just like using it. It's hard to explain. You're like positioning things in the environment, and then you don't realize what it does until you like step back and look at it. And then you're like, okay, well, that's not exactly what I was hoping or what I was going
You
for,
played through
but I
the
can
whole
make it
demo
work.
when you played through the whole demo.
Yes, I think I finished the demo.
I feel like as an idea, like it's pretty. It is freeform, but I think that's like one of its strengths, honestly, because I feel like if it wasn't, like these puzzles would be very boring. I feel like the moments where you accidentally like delete like the exit of the game, and it's like, well, this isn't going to work because you just deleted the entire level by placing this picture here. Like those are cool moments, I feel like, and they happen only because the game, in a lot of the puzzles,
It's
not all the
freeform.
puzzles, gives you the opportunity to really kind of place photos where you want. But there are like puzzles that don't do that, and that's where they get a little bit more like, oh, I really got to think here because this camera here is stationary, and doesn't make sense how I'm supposed to get to the end of this. But then when it clicks, it's like, oh, it's pretty remarkable. But it just feels a little small, a little slight. It almost, but it's not like these games have to be long. It's just it lacks the je ne sais quoi. It's not even that. It like there's got to be like a mystery, I feel like, to these games, and I feel like those three that I mentioned definitely have that. And
Right.
and man, but it's still fucking cool. Like this seems like the game that I wish was on Game Pass. This game was gifted to me by Farakin, which I found
Oh, that's nice.
surprising because I haven't received a gift outside of like a birthday gift from Chai or something in like many years. I was like, oh, like this is nice.
Well,
it was
that's
like a
very
very
nice of
it was
Farakin.
a very pleasant surprise, and I'm glad that he did that because I was in a position where it's like, well, I'm not going to play this game. This isn't on Game Pass. I can't rent a physical disc. And it's not quite, it's a cool idea, but it's like it's not enough, right?
Right.
But if this was on Game Pass, I'd be recommending it to all of you.
I mean,
But
if this was on Game Pass, I'd be playing it. I mean, I'd
to
find the
those who
time
share
for
my
it for
Steam
sure.
account, I do recommend it, right? Like I own it now.
Ooh,
I
already
that's
downloading
me.
it.
It's fucking
That's
rad.
me.
And it runs great on a Steam Deck. And
Ooh.
yeah, it's
Nice.
a good game. It just doesn't sit with the greats. But again, the tech will always be remarkable.
And
So
it's
I
also
think
like
it's worth experiencing.
it's one of those things we've talked about for a little bit here, and I don't think we like explicitly said what it is, what the mechanic is, because it's hard to quantify. I would just tell people if you're into these kinds of games, go watch a trailer for this or go watch footage of it. This is like when they announced this, I think it was last year at one of the PlayStation Directs or whatever. They showed this game for the first time, and even in that first trailer, I remember being like, "What the fuck? Like, how does that work?" So just go watch a trailer for it. And
I think
be
I
blown
will
away.
echo what Mr. Papa Shot in chat says, that probably one of the difficulties with this game in creating these puzzles and why maybe there is a lack of those aha moments is because, and obviously my limited knowledge of the game, with how the mechanic works, it's probably difficult to create a puzzle that is that exciting, but also not just like there's 48 different ways you could solve it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Just because of how you have so much free form in this compared to, like Nick said, a portal puzzle where you have two portals.
I
And
look
that's
at
it.
I look at a portal gun and I'm like, I know what the mechanics of this gun are. When I was playing this demo, like I was doing things and cool shit was happening and I was blown away by the tech. But I remember just every time I did something and I solved it, I was like, I don't think I did that intentionally. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I was just kind of experimenting until something clicked into place and it worked.
Oh, well,
As opposed to a game like The Witness or a game like Portal or a game like The Talos Principle, where I had a very good grasp on how the mechanics work. But this game is so mind-fucking.
that might be the demo, right? Because the demo sort of chopped up to show you like kind of like different styles of puzzle
Sure.
you can solve. But when you're actually playing the game, the way the pacing is like, check out this problem or look at this problem. How do you solve it with your camera? Okay, you figure that out. Here is the next puzzle. It looks kind of similar to the last one, but there's like a twist here, and you're going to find that what you did in the last puzzle is not quite going to work this time around. And they
That's
kind
how I
of
feel
do
like these
that
things
like
should
2, 3,
progress.
4 times until you're like, until you really do get a better understanding of how things work in that world. And at first it does seem pretty random, but by the end of that game, you're going to have to really have a full understanding of kind of how all this works to like beat like the final
Right.
puzzle challenge or whatever. It's a cool game,
Well, yeah,
and I don't mean
the
to be down on it. It just so happens that the best of this genre are some of the best games ever, and that's not fair. I
yeah,
know it's not fair,
not fair
but
at
it's true.
all.
It's true.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
when I think
I
of
so,
like Portal, The Witness, and Talos Principle, those are like top 3 games of those years for me, in all the years
oh
that
yeah,
those games came out, if not top
without
1 or 2.
without question. Yeah, since this is in your Steam library, I think I too might try and
It's good.
squeeze this
It's
one
a
in.
good. It's nice to play like a 5-hour game in 2023. Let me
Hell
tell you.
yeah! Speaking of 5-hour games, man. Okay,
Oh,
maybe not 5 hours, but I beat
did you?
Gravity Circuit.
Oh, wow!
Ooh.
Your first
It's
Mega
not
Man.
5 hours. It took me about closer to 10. Which I guess I will start by saying I've never played a Mega Man game before in my life. I've watched a lot of Mega Man. I've heard y'all talk about Mega Man a lot. I never played
It's a pretty good
Mighty.
series.
I never played Mighty Number 9. I have no history with
Good
this
for you. You lucked
franchise.
out there.
Don't you?
I know, I
Yeah.
know,
How
I know.
dare you?
I mean, I know the history of Mighty Number 9, but I never had context, right? I never had any history of Mega Man, right? So I'm playing, in a lot of ways, Gravity Circuit is like my first Mega Man game. And I say that, again, as someone who's never played Mega Man, so that I could be a bit off. I don't know. I also learned playing this game, maybe I'm not that great at Mega Man game, because there were people finishing this game. I know, like, how long to beat, it's like 5 hours. It took me about twice that. And I
Yeah, it's
never
funny
quite...
because the reviews I did see, of which obviously there are not many, was
Right.
I heard people saying this game is like kind of easy, which isn't historically what you consider a Mega Man game. It's not typically
Yeah.
easy. They're typically challenging games. So, but I bet a lot of the people who did review it are Mega Man fans. So I'm
Right.
not
Yeah.
surprised they maybe thought this was on the easier side. But as someone who has no history with Mega Man, yeah, it makes sense that it would take you longer, or maybe
Right.
it'd be a little trickier for you.
And but like what I do know about Mega Man, and what I think people appreciate about Mega Man, is like tight controls, tight mechanics, good platforming, challenging platforming, great music. Music's always been like a major component, right, of Mega Man.
Mhm.
This game has all that, and it does it with a lot of style. I think one of the main reasons it took me so long, and why I think I'm not very good at this, is because one of the main mechanics of the game is a grappling hook, right? And you have to use it to, in the midst of like jumping around, avoiding enemies, and getting in combat, you have to use
Yeah.
that grapple to either like connect to walls or ceilings to help you platform across the area, or you can use
Bionic
it in
Commando
combat.
style.
Yeah, you can actually hook onto enemies after you've killed them, because you have about 2 or 3 seconds before they explode. You can grab onto their like husk and like throw it at enemies to do like a bunch of damage, right?
Cool.
I never really got the hang of using the grappling hook effectively.
Oh no!
It's hard.
Dude. I
I
watched
found
your
it very
first stream
hard.
of this game, and it was
Yeah.
excruciating watching you struggle with that grappling
Yeah,
hook.
it
I just
never got
assumed
better.
you eventually got really good at it.
No. I watched somebody. The final boss of this game alone took me about an hour and almost an hour and a half. It was like 80 minutes was my final play time on the final boss. And I did it a lot, and I was having a lot of fun, because I do think this game's mechanics are strong enough that I didn't find myself getting very frustrated. I was having a great time throwing myself at the final boss, but I did at one point be like, I think I'm doing something wrong here. So I like YouTube someone fighting the final boss, and I was like, oh my god, they're using the grappling hook like fucking crazy, and I was
Oh,
like, I can't
you
do that. I
fucking.
can't do that. I can't fucking do that. Okay, and I know I'm like,
The
I
best
feel
part of
really
any game with a grappling hook is the
is
grappling
using
hook.
the grappling hook. And don't get me wrong, I did use it, because there's sometimes you have to use it, especially for like getting across certain like chasms in the platforming, right? There's no other option. You have to use the grappling hook. But those are the parts where I struggled the most. So take that with a grain of salt. The grappling hook's not bad. I'm just not very good at it. But the cool thing about this game is, you go out and you do all these different levels have different personalities, different gimmicks, they culminate in a very different kind of boss fight because it's almost like Power Rangers. You're like this like robotic member of this like Power Rangers group, and you've lost your memory, and you come back, and like all your other team members have kind of like turned to the dark side or whatever. So you're like going to all these areas and
like
taking
they've
them
gone
on.
Maverick or something like that. Yeah,
Okay, yes, is that a Mega Man reference?
very much so.
Okay, yeah. So again, Mega Man it wears its Mega Man influences on its sleeve, but as you go through these levels, you come back to like kind of like a home base, and you, depending on how many like civilians you rescued, and which are like hidden throughout the levels, right? So there's like hidden rooms that you have to access that are really cleverly hidden and really challenging to get to in some cases. The more you save, the more you can go back and you can buy new abilities. So you have chipsets. It's almost kind of like, it's a little like Nier Automata, where you like in the middle of a level you'd be like, or in the middle of a fight, I can be like, I need a different chipset. So you can go into your menu and like equip these different chips that give you different stat boosts or different attacks that are tied to the specific directional buttons or whatever. During that final boss fight, I did a lot of experimentation with the chipsets to figure out which one worked best for me, and like I found that stuff to be really rewarding. This game has like a fucking banger soundtrack. It's so good, which
Yes, it is.
So like I don't know, I can't speak from experience about Mighty Number 9, but I know a lot of people were super pissed about that project. This seems to me
so much so that you got to stop talking about it.
I know, but but like it's almost I'm bringing it up because I think it's a shame watching this game come out and get almost like nobody's talking about it. Like it's struggling to get reviews, and I'm sitting here thinking
just the nature of
maybe
indie games at this point.
Well, I mean, like I don't. There's plenty. Like, dude, I was watching indie games that I've never heard of come out, and they already have like 10 reviews like 2 days later, and I'm just like, what is going on with Gravity Circuit? It's an amazing game. Like it was sitting at 90 for a while.
So many games that never end up on OpenCritic at all. Like
I know this just doesn't seem like it should be one of them. It's crazy to me. And the only reason I brought up Mighty Number 9 is because I know a lot of people were really upset about that. And this to me seems like somebody was like, that sucks. I'm gonna try and do it right. It's almost how it feels.
It happens all the time.
It's fucking rad, man.
If Chris Davis never brought it up during the Steam Next Fest or whatever, probably would not be talking about it right now.
You're absolutely right. Credit to Chris Davis for bringing this up, because it would not have been on my radar. But it's great, man. It's fantastic. Are you going to play it, Chris Davis?
I am.
Like a dozen of these. I mean, there's dozens of awesome indie Mega Man type games. I mean, it's a shame we're even mentioning Mighty.
Well, there's dozens of indie Mega Man games. There's not a whole lot that are actually really good.
All I'll say is I don't know anything about Mega Man or a lot of those other games that have kind of tried to mimic it over the years. But this one's a good one.
One thing I would say, Nick, if you did enjoy this, like you said, with your knowledge of what Mega Man is, I would definitely suggest checking out some of the Mega Man spin-offs, not Mega Man
like
clones,
Legends?
but or Battle Network.
Battle Network.
While they do give you the vibe of Mega Man, they're both very different. And I think they're both very good in their own right.
The Zero titles, yeah.
So
he should stay far away from the Zero.
But I mean, if you're gonna do like a mainline Mega Man, do Mega Man X. That's a great starter.
I'll keep that in mind. And here's the thing: I am definitely more open to playing a Mega Man game after this. What I think is really cool about this game is because I think there's nothing about Mega Man that has kept me from playing it over the years, except for maybe the fact that I always felt kind of overwhelmed because there are so many Mega Man games, and I'm always kind of like, I don't really know where to start. So having this game, which
years ago, though, this is a franchise that used to be like a premier property for Capcom, and they just abandoned it completely. It's kind of sad.
But
for like a third-party publisher that's still so active and making games, it's so weird that.
But like, haven't the last few wasn't like Mega Man 10, like 9 and 10?
Whatever you're about to say is at least a decade old.
Oh wow, really?
Mega Man 11 was 2016, I think.
Holy
like
shit! That was good, right?
Than that.
Yeah.
But those were good, right? Those were well
No,
received.
those aren't for you. You don't want to play Mega Man 9 or
Yeah,
10.
those
They're
are
not
those
for
are.
you.
It would be wrong to call them nostalgia bait, but that's a partially accurate adjective.
All I really want to say
here's my
is,
thing. Go ahead, Nick.
I was just gonna say the reason I was drawn to this was because it didn't come with it didn't have any of the Mega Man baggage. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
And it was like it gave me the opportunity to kind of be exposed to Mega Man without being exposed to Mega Man.
Yeah, but like there's like the Shovel Knight games have lots of Mega Man energy, and like everyone's played those, and would like absolutely recommend all those.
I don't
to
know
you.
what it
There's
is. I
lots-
bounced off of Shovel Knight.
Well,
But maybe
yeah,
that was a
weird
long time ago.
sometimes,
Maybe
but-
I should
like
give it a
there's also
different
like
try.
in indie games, like there's 30XX, right, which is a
Yeah.
roguelike that's coming and hitting 1.0 soon. That's like it's like Mega Man X, but it's a roguelike, and that's much more popular. And there was a roguelike that came out a couple years ago that was like Battle Network, but it was God, what was that fucking game called?
I
That was
forget what
very
it's
well
called.
received. And like as someone who does play things like Hades or whatever now, like I could totally see you getting into that game, one of those games.
Sure.
I mean, that's just sort of where Mega
That's
Man
the
lives on.
30XX game you were talking about?
No, well, not just 30XX, but
No.
also the Battle Network type,
Yeah.
Battle Network roguelike.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Somebody in
nobody
chat
else knows.
has to know what game you're talking
Very
about.
well.
I'm sure
yeah,
they do.
yeah, they'll know.
Somebody
but-
say the name of that game that Brad's trying to make.
So
reference.
here's my 2 cents, Nick.
Mhm.
If anyone on the street was like, "Hey, do you like Mega Man?" I would obviously say yes.
one step for me.
I've never been a big fan of the mainline Mega Man games. I've played several of them. There's not my personal cup of tea. I did enjoy Shovel Knight, which yes, I can see how one would compare that to Mega Man. But I had so much fun with Mega Man Legends and Mega Man Legends 2, and the 3 Battle Network games I played. I thought those were all fantastic. And I think it's also, to an extent, similar to my opinions on Yakuza, and that I've liked every Yakuza game I played, but I had a better connection to Yakuza 7, or Like a Dragon, because the main mechanic in that game, the brawling aspect, was never my favorite part of the game. It
Right.
was the story that I in the side missions that that drew me in. Similarly, the main mechanic in the mainline Mega Man games has never been my favorite thing about them. And so like that's why I think I was drawn into Battle Network, because while it is Mega Man, it is not the same thing. And Legends is very different. I mean, that is just a straight up 3D action, platformer, shooting game.
And it holds up today?
I think so.
Wow. Controls wise, it can get a little weird, but it's super cool.
Yeah.
Like it's a perfect Revival Club game.
For sure. Yeah, Legends is fantastic. I have a rotating. My wallpaper on my computer rotates, and one of the ones that rotates too is a Mega Man Legends 3 artwork thing, because they canceled that game, and it's still like such a pain in my fucking heart.
So you
got canceled.
reopen that wound every time that
Every
your
time it comes
wallpaper
up,
rotates?
because I'm just so sad at what we missed.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, Gravity Circuit. I just wanted to mention it. It's great, man. It's one of the year's good indie games. I know there's going to be a lot of games. I'm just saying.
Finally,
a good indie game.
Right. Like there's so many good indie games. It's like, I believe you. I also am probably never going to play this because there'll be dozens of others to play that are awesome.
I'm saying, when I first booted this up, I wasn't sure if this was going to be the one that like hooks me. I was like, I want to give it a shot because I've always been curious about this kind of game, and I've never really played one from start to finish. But I was going to give it a shot, and I did, and it hooked me, and I stuck with it, and I loved it. I had a great time. So,
I'm glad.
check it out. Yes, thank you, Chris Davis, for bringing it up, because like Brad said, I probably never would have. It never would have been on my radar had you not. So that's why I love doing this podcast.
Please, really, and
It's
truly
mighty
consider
number 9, Brad.
Please, really and truly consider playing Mega Man X1.
Okay, stop.
I'll consider all of these suggestions. But now we're going to bounce over to Chris Davis to tell us all about Exoprimal. We almost did a community night for this, and it didn't happen. It might still, but it didn't come together last time. So I've been curious about this one. What is up with Exoprimal?
Exoprimal is a really good and very interesting game that where it succeeds, it does really well, and where its lows are make you go, why did Capcom do this? Just for the people who do not know with this game, this is it's a symmetrical multiplayer PvEVP narrative experience.
Okay.
Where it's
what the fuck?
It is weird.
Squeeze in more adjectives. Squeeze them in
I
there.
I have to run through this because I need you to understand what I've been grappling with and I gotta filter it down. There is no grappling hook, but that might be a thing in the future. Anyway, the basic premise of this game is that you are a member of the Hammerheads, who are exo hunters. You basically 3 years ago there was a temporal event that started causing dinosaur portals to start opening up around the world and just eating
dumping
the populace.
dinosaurs.
And so for the past 3 years, there's the mega corporation IBS has built this AI called
IBS?
Leviathan that is basically trying to learn from all these fights between exofighters and dinosaurs to build the ultimate exofighter suit. That's the basic premise to the game. But then it starts delving into twists and things like that you really don't expect. The core loop of the game is that this is a multiplayer only game with a campaign narrative that plays and progresses as you continue to play the game more and more.
But I hear you have to
Isn't
put
that
like
true
a
of any
lot
game?
But I feel like you have to put a lot of. I've heard you have to put a lot of time into it before like.
No, you don't.
The narrative hooks get you.
I mean, before the actual twist, like after you've played like the first match, official match of your experience, like you get like the hook and twist of what they're trying to do with the narrative, which is Leviathan.
Whoa. Careful. If you use a word like twist and then start to explain it, I'm almost.
It's not a twist. It's played out. They talk about this in the trailer, like all the trailers for this. Basically,
Also,
Leviathan
stop
turns
it,
out to be
no one
this.
gives a shit.
Leviathan has gone psychotic and has figured out how to manipulate time and is creating infinite loops across infinite timelines to where all the exofighters are fighting all on the same single day, just constantly fighting dinosaurs over and over, so it can accumulate data from those battles to create the ultimate exofighter suit.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't give a shit about the pilots. It's just trying to collect data, and it's always throwing what it thinks are minimally survivable scenarios for the exofighters to experience. And it's
just
interesting
raining
that
raptors on the screen, right?
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. But I kind of find it interesting.
Real quick, just basic ass question.
Yes.
With that many dinosaurs falling from the sky, it runs pretty well.
It runs very well. This is an RE Engine game, so it was already expected to run really well. But this is solid. I had no frame drops on my considerably old PC now.
Capcom has figured out the magic, I guess.
This engine is rock solid, and this is a great testament to what they've done.
Is it RE Engine or is it something else?
No, it's RE Engine. Yeah, it's 100% RE Engine.
They've done it. They've made the perfect engine.
Well, not only have they made a really good engine, for the first time in like nearly a decade, they've actually made a good multiplayer game.
But does it have legs?
Well, I'm walking around with legs. No,
multiplayer.
Longevity. It looks to have legs. So let me spell this out to you. This game, it's right now starting tomorrow. It gets its second official mode of the game, which is a narrative continuation from when the game rolls credits called Savage Gauntlet. It's basically going to be a PvE horde mode. The game progresses. The more you play the game, the more the narrative progresses. So you'll start to get cutscenes. You'll get
That's every game. But continue.
This is a multiplayer game, Brad. Calm down. Okay? So the more you play, the more the narrative progresses, the more cutscenes unlock, the more encounters you have with varieties of dinosaurs, the more levels you experience, and the more objectives you can experience.
That's okay. Never mind.
The weird thing, I mean, in a multiplayer experience, you don't really get that. Like, the closest comparison I can make is like the campaign narrative of Titanfall 1. Like what they tried to do with that campaign multiplayer, where they had basically you were playing multiplayer matches, but there was a overarching voices and in-game cutscenes playing out right in front of you. This is like that, but done in, I think, a more interesting way. But the problem is that this game does a very poor job of informing you of this information. It doesn't tell you that the more you play, the more it unlocks these new story elements. The more the levels expand, the more the objectives change, the more dinosaurs you'll encounter, the more the better encounters you get.
Are you saying you're like at risk if you're not paying attention to like just doing things over and over again without realizing you've actually progressed?
There is a risk of that. I call it out more about the early hours of the experience, like the first several hours when you're playing your first matches, like your first 5-6 matches, like it feels like just you've experienced what the game has to offer, and it doesn't want to tell you what to expect next.
Oh my God, you popped out of your thing. Okay, sorry. I
Yeah,
didn't know
you're
you could do
saying
that.
it's like it's poorly paced.
It has some pacing issues. It has some.
Are those the things that are making this game? Because I mean, numbers aren't the only important thing here, but this game is reviewing pretty mid, right? It's like a 69 right now.
Yeah,
and
Nice.
which is not nice.
The people that in our community, anyways, that have played it, that I've seen talking, seem to be enjoying it, but they all seem to kind of echo the same sentiment, which is something along the lines of nobody is going to stick with this game. Not many people are going to stick with this game long enough to really truly understand its loop or its
That's exactly the problem. If this game had not launched on Game Pass, I don't think it would be.
So I mean, that's just the fault of the game. Why would they do that? Why would they have the best stuff hidden behind a bunch of repetitive shit? Like, why would they be repeating shit before they get to the stuff that's unique? I guess
poor project management, just poor. I don't know, just poor vision. I don't know. But like,
I don't have an answer
if it survives, if it survives the initial launch, right? If it's because you said tomorrow there's a new mode launching.
Yeah, the first new mode, the first proper update to the game.
If they can keep,
you only need 3 people to play this game, or 4 people, right?
Well, no, it's a 5-player thing, but like here's the thing:
5v5.
It's 5v5, but it's across. Right now, as of right now, it's one mode for 3 variations. You got PvP, PvE, and random. Basically, what that means is that every match you're playing against an enemy team, you're racing against them to complete all the objectives. They're doing the exact same ones you are doing in the exact same order you're doing, and they're getting the exact same dinosaur spawns. So it's a race to finish that. It's only when you finish the final objective of the main map that it goes to the final mission, which basically it teleports you to a different part of the map. It gives you the final objective of what you're going to do, and depending on whether you're PvE, PvP, or randomizing, you may do those kinds of final missions, like push the payload from Overwatch. You're doing that just like they are. There's also
the payload from Overwatch.
Yeah, payload or whatever. I don't know what it's called. I never played Overwatch. I'm probably never going to play Overwatch.
Have you ever played a small indie game? Not sure if you've heard of it. TF2.
I was about to say he's about to say Team Fortress 2.
I have played 15 minutes of TF2,
which just the other day I think hit an all-time player peak.
Does this not fall into Brad's category he said earlier of games you're shocked to hear Chris Davis has never played? Because I find that to be pretty shocking.
That is super fucking weird, honestly. Because when TF2 came out, I played a fuck ton of TF2,
and it's Valve.
Brad,
This is Chris Davis we're talking about here.
Brad, you know what came out that same year as TF2?
Oh no,
Wow.
something
Call of
more
Duty 4.
serious and boring. Okay.
Oh.
Well, we
Oh,
all
so he
played
chose
that
to play
too,
the
Chris
bad game.
Davis. No, I mean we all played that one too. We found time for both.
Anyway, so it's structured in this weird way, but the gameplay loop itself of fighting dinosaurs and then maybe eventually fighting other players works very, very well. The balance of the various different Exofighter suits across the 3 different class types, each one feels unique, each one feels powerful. Some of them a little bit more powerful than others. There's probably going to need to be a balancing pass or 2 in the future. But there's not a bad character in this game, and everything has a very nice visual language to it. I can instantly tell the silhouette of one mech against another. The game is also very fair in letting you switch out of mechs immediately at the press of a button, so you can experience things and switch classes as you need to as you're playing.
Modes experimentation.
Lots of room for experimentation. There's a fair amount of mech customization as far as your skill sets and what you can equip to your mech and do stuff. Every one of them has an alt that is really cool, very visually satisfying.
I saw someone launch like a wave that goes forward and just dinosaurs go flying in the air as it hits. I don't know if that was an alt or something, but it looks pretty.
No, that's actually
games as a
standard
service-y stuff.
It's not that bad. Everything in the game is cosmetic. You get loot, the war chest loot crates basically. Basically every time you level.
Oh no!
So you're getting them very quickly. And the game gives you a metric fuck ton of in-game currency to spend on anything, and you cannot buy currency with real money. So like, the only way to spend money other than just buying this game is to buy their battle pass, which is just cosmetics. It's nothing special. But it works.
There's nothing that's going to make you feel like you're at a disadvantage because you didn't spend actual money.
Correct. There is nothing in this
Hunter
game that
have a battle pass.
Yes.
Because my God.
Let me answer that for you.
Everything,
So
every multiplayer game has a fucking battle pass these days. It doesn't matter what it is.
Monster Hunter.
I'm going to be honest.
Well, this is for Capcom's first battle pass. Then they'll do it in the next Monster Hunter.
I don't think this is gonna like convince them that this is a good idea based on the success of this game. So,
well, here's my question: how is this game doing? I mean, I know how it's doing
not
critically.
well.
You don't think? I mean, you don't think Game Pass is keeping like how hard is it to like? What's the player count? Is I guess what I'm getting at. Like how many people? How many people are playing
Not
this?
Monster Hunter numbers.
Okay, well that's not,
what
of course
does Monster Hunter numbers? You know, how many is that, Brad? Is that a 5 or 6 digit number for you? Because I think this game is doing regularly at about 20-ish thousand players per night.
On what? What? Based on what? What do you?
I'm going off of what are the Xbox estimated numbers as well as the Steam charts numbers. Like, and if that's an indication, then the PlayStation numbers should be similar. But
here's the thing: they have to keep this. They have to keep this game in people's. It has to be on people's mind, right? For long enough for them to start introducing new things, tightening up the experience with new builds, new characters, new addressing pacing issues, new modes, all this stuff. Like if it's I just like they put it on Game Pass for a reason, right? And I
yeah, thank God.
Is Game Pass what they're using to kind of like keep this thing alive while they make this thing like I could see this if it keeps the momentum going for a while, I could see this being a huge hit in the long run. The long run.
Well,
but like how many games get that chance these days? Not many.
Well, let me pitch it to you this way. I do not like PvP games anymore. I very rarely play them. I've never played Overwatch or any of its clones. I probably never will play Overwatch or any of these clones. I really like this game.
But do you like do you like the PvP elements? Because I feel like I really wish this was just EDF with dinosaurs made by Capcom. I
Well,
feel like so many
supposedly that's
people
what-
would be so much happier. but they
Supposedly
had the
that's what
games as a
Savage
service
Gauntlet is
yet.
going to be. Is going to be pure PvE inspired by EDF, from what I understand.
But that's not.
problem
the
is you
same
still have to play
thing.
with
It's
other
still like
people.
It's yes, you still got to play with other people. It's still games as a service. There's still a fucking battle pass. It's still just a mode. It's not. That ain't what EDF is.
Of fucking course it isn't. I mean, how many things are EDF? Basically,
EDF,
just
EDF.
EDF.
Well,
Yeah.
things that just are. I mean, that doesn't mean they couldn't have just made that. I mean, that's obviously what it evoked when they showed it off, right? Like they wanted people to think of EDF with dinosaurs, not battle
that
passes.
is not where my brain went when that.
Well,
was
funny you
first
bring
announced.
up how they
we
originally
can look that
pitched
up,
this.
Chris Davis. If I don't believe you, we can look it up because I bet you talked about it, the reveal on this podcast.
No, I guarantee you, I talked about it. What I probably talked about is why is this not called Dino Crisis?
Oh
because
God,
it doesn't
thank God
fucking
it
look
wasn't.
like Dino Crisis at all.
Like it's
Well, to be fair, Dino Crisis 3 didn't look like Dino Crisis at all. And
Exactly.
2, when they announced this game, there was a fucking Regina-looking character at the beginning of the trailer, and I almost shit my pants.
yes.
And then
It
I
was
got so angry. So angry.
It was a prominent primary character in this game.
And that was intentional. That shit was so intentional. I'm so mad about that still.
Oh, there are actually in-game like nods and jokes specifically about her being a
wouldn't be
redhead in a
so
game about
bad.
dinosaurs.
That wouldn't be so bad if they were also making Dino Crisis games still.
So, are you playing this regularly, Chris Davis?
Yes.
And is the grind just because cool cosmetics and loot boxes? Because that's just gambling. I get it. But
I'm playing it for the actual gameplay. I'm not grinding for anything.
But what is there to? What are you trying to achieve? I mean, like what?
My achievement is victory in a match and then playing the next match. That I'm enjoying this gameplay loop. It works.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, sure. Okay. I just don't think there's going to be that many of you. I don't know.
Well,
Only time will tell. I do want to try this. I downloaded this on Game Pass, so it's sitting there.
I mean, the one thing I haven't talked about is that there are story missions. Like I've been playing you footage of a story mission where there's an NPC that has narrative and cutscenes that I have to protect and go do stuff with. But in addition to that, there are also boss fights and raids in the game. And those in and of themselves, where you start playing a match and then you get through 2 objectives and the game just fucking stops and transports you to a new area that you've never played before. And you're teaming up with every player in the match, not just in the 5v5, to complete a raid together to do stuff. Those are fucking cool.
So here's the thing that just kind of maybe red flag for me, and maybe this is just me being weird because I don't really play these kinds of games. But like when you talk about playing a game, especially when it's like you're talking about like there's a narrative here, there's a story happening,
yes,
and then you say a turning point for a level, they teleport you to a different part of the map. What that makes it sound like to me is it's very disjointed, and I feel like it takes you out of the experience. It's almost
what
like
you're saying is a fucking understatement, Nick. Like him saying there's like story in this game. Stay far the fuck away. Like this is not your shit. I'm
not.
Like disjointed. My God, this is not even close to anything you'd be remotely interested in.
Okay.
I feel like him even pitching this as something with a story, as if to like entice people looking for story, is crazy talk.
I think you're overthinking my argument for this game. The narrative, if you would let me spell it out for you, I think is very interesting. But that's the problem with this game, is that it doesn't inform you of what to really expect beyond the first couple of hours of your experience.
That part. Tell us why the story is so cool.
The story is fucking cool because they're dealing with infinite timelines, and everything that happens in the game is actually canon. Okay, so
we're going down a rabbit hole here.
Let me try to give me 30 seconds, okay? Leviathan is an evil AI trying to develop the ultimate exosuit, who has gained control of manipulating portals in time has connected to every single reality and every single timeline that ever existed.
The
And is
multiverse.
pulling in exo fighters to fight against one another against endless waves of dinosaurs where certain death is going to eventually happen. And so everything that's actually happening is canon to the narrative.
I don't know. You have me until you
If
say
you
that last
die-
part, and then I'm like, I don't know what that means.
If you die, you were supposed to die because that's what happens in the process of all these infinite war games happening.
Well, it's like everything everywhere all at once. I get it.
I
But
mean,
with a battle
that's
pass.
not
The
far off, honestly.
Everything everywhere all at once for the battle pass. That was fucking
Some of
good.
the outfits that the quote unquote villain in that movie were pretty cool. I'd pay some loot boxes for those.
Oh my god.
I
Hey, I'm glad you're enjoying it. There's people in our community that are enjoying it.
Sure,
I still want to try it. I like dinosaurs. I don't know if y'all know that about me. I like dinosaurs.
This is a game that you really can't be pitched on. You kind of have to experience. Like I'm just really struggling to really give you an understanding of what this game is. Like
No.
I
get it.
There's a
It's-
lot of fun to be had here. It's a great gameplay loop that I am not reward bound in me playing through it. I'm just experiencing it for the matches and playing with my friends. I really like it.
You get any
If-
cool
if-
loot boxes though?
I've gotten a lot of cool skins, like the one I have for this character here, Krieger. It's basically the King of Spades
Look,
playing
man,
card.
If you were pure and you didn't care, you just weren't there for the gameplay, you just be using the default skin. You fucking gambling.
See, here's the
Look at
problem, Chris
Brad.
Davis. You just walked right into Brad's trap.
There's
That was a
nothing
trap.
I could have said in even talking
No.
about this game tonight that wouldn't have been Brad bait.
Is shooting the dinosaurs fun?
Yes.
I like
And when
So
you're
I think-
facing infinite amounts of dinosaurs, it's really fun.
I think at the end of the day, that's really all you need to say. I mean, because like Chris Davis, like you said, I don't think this is a game you can really pitch somebody on, because at the end of the day, it just comes down to whether you enjoy shooting dinosaurs or not. And if you can get, like, if you're getting to a point where the act of playing matches is fun and that's justifying your enjoyment of it, that's great. I don't think you need to sell people on it. Just people need to pick it up and try it. And it's because of the fact that it's on Game Pass, that's not very hard. like I have it. I haven't played it yet, but I have it.
Like-
I'll try it. I like dinosaurs. I like shooting dinosaurs.
Let me spell something out for y'all.
Oh, he's
And
gonna spell it out again.
this will be my perfect argument for this game. I didn't buy this. I got Game
What?
Pass for this.
Yes.
so it really does suck.
You know, because I was skeptical. I was just like y'all in like, what is this game? I'm very worried about this.
I just want people to
My
know if you're
paycheck
listening.
hits tonight, and I'm going to buy this.
Okay, that's interesting.
How
Okay.
much is it?
It's like $40.
Yeah, it's not bad.
For people who may be listening to this podcast for the first time and you're like, well, you got Game Pass, what's the big deal? I just need y'all to understand that Chris Davis has been giving us pushback about Game Pass. He's been refusing for the longest time, and this is the game that did it. This is the game that did it. And then on top of that, he did it, and now he's gonna go spend money to buy the full game anyways, which I think
Well,
is a little
have you
strange.
played anything else now that you have Game Pass?
No, I just bought it for this. That's all.
No, that's not how Game Pass works. Did you have you browsed and
Vixie
seen what else
says-
is there?
For Vixie says, new listeners, this man has lost it. Just fucking
Wait,
lost
so
it.
you subbed to Game Pass and you made a point to only play Exoprimal?
And
Yeah.
then buy it. And then buy it.
Is it
You
'cause
have to
you don't
understand,
time?
I have
Like-
I have been playing other things that are not on Game Pass other than this. So I haven't
Sure.
really had time to go through a catalog and
Just
look
play-
at other things to play.
You should play some Atomic Heart, baby. I re-downloaded that last night.
Yeah.
Well, I've been playing Company of Heroes and I've been playing another game that I cannot talk about this week.
The fuck does that mean?
Well, you're going to find out next week, motherfucker.
Well,
You should
is
play
it
it-
under embargo? Are you playing a game under embargo?
No.
He means
I just don't need any more shit from y'all tonight. I would have told you, but no, it's too late.
Oh man, you should play Atomic Heart, baby. I'm serious. Okay.
What is
I
he
said
getting
Atomic
at?
Heart. I don't know.
I'm
We'll find
confused.
out. Unless he's not going to tell us what that game is. I don't know.
You're going to
Um,
find out as we
okay,
move
about to say-
on towards the
I could be
4-player
dead
map.
by next week. Fuck you.
Well,
Tell me now.
take it to the grave, Brad. I'm sorry, but I'll
Can you give
tell
us
your
a
children
hint?
over your grave.
Can you give us a hint?
It's a game that came out this year.
Okay,
Oh,
and
this is
it's
quite the
on
hint.
Game Pass. Wait, is it Hi-Fi Rush?
Oh, I played that day one, man. Come on.
Oh, okay. Then I have no idea. Okay, let's move on and wrap the show up with the 4-player minute.
Spectre?
What the fuck is Spectre?
Not yet.
Oh,
Okay.
it's just,
All right, let's move on. Brad, let's take it home. What is your
Okay,
final
sure.
thought for the week?
My final thought for the week is just I've been thinking a lot about Baldur's Gate, so much so that I've been wanting to I'm like, oh, I should play some old Baldur's Gate again because I'm excited about Baldur's Gate. And I don't have time to be fucking around with old Baldur's Gate. But that didn't stop me from rolling characters in Baldur's Gate. And I don't know. Maybe it's an old game. No one really understood my pain. I tweeted about it.
I saw your tweet. I didn't get it.
Yeah, you didn't get it. But you would get it if you were old like me, I guess. I don't know. Or played Baldur's Gate back in the day. And I sat there and I rolled stats on a character for like an hour plus, knowing that I would never play this game or have a time to play this game. Um, and it was the same when I was, back in 1998 with the first Baldur's Gate. I would just sit there and roll, and back then it wouldn't even total up all the numbers, and you had to do the math yourself. But I would roll and roll and roll and roll and roll. And just like 25 years ago, you would always just get a little too punchy, see the perfect stats, and then skip over it. And there's no
No.
going back. You just want that time machine. You're like, this was 1 in 1,000 and I just hit it or whatever. God, maybe more. And you skip over it and there's no going back. And it's the same in 2023 as it was in 1998. And it hurts so much because when you're getting 75, 76, 81, 80, 75, 77, 77, 75, and then you hit a 93 and you skip over it, not only does it hurt, but it's knowing that there's a potential for you to roll a 93 causes you to hit that reroll button for another hour, and it hurts. And I did the exact same thing 25 years ago as I'm doing today, and it hurts so much. It hurts so much.
Hot
Yeah,
damn.
god damn. But I know I didn't have time. So I will say I'd start listening to a podcast series where two people play. It's sort of like it's not really a let's play. They're sort of talking about their experience of playing through Baldur's Gate 1, and then the expansions, and then even that one middle game that was made by Beamdog or whatever, Siege of Dragonspear and Baldur's Gate 2. And it's called Mages and Murder Dads. And if you're not familiar with old Baldur's Gate, it is kind of a long series, but it is an entertaining one, podcast series / video series, because they do have YouTube videos that sort of accompany it. Just maybe dabble just to kind of see what old Baldur's Gate was like, because let me tell you, Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be a much different world than those old ass games, but I have a lot of nostalgia for Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. So it's been nice to sort of reinvigorate or reactivate that nostalgia without actually diving into those games, because fuck, man, they're hard to go back to.
Right.
Still didn't stop me from rolling and rolling and rolling. The first, half hour of the podcast, I was hitting reroll.
Motherfucker.
I switched
Wow.
it.
You motherfucker.
Hit 93 total stats points. My
Shame.
God.
Hey, Chris Davis, real quick. That game that you're keeping secret, is it a Game Pass game?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Okay, that just opens it up. I was like, if it was Game Pass, I was like, I could probably figure this out. But if it's not Game Pass,
That's interesting.
never mind.
Karth. Must be a biography.
All right, Nolan, would you like to go next?
Alrighty, my 4-player minute starts now. My hype is for Pikmin 4. Everything that y'all talked about and what I saw just gets me more excited for the game. Definitely going to be checking it out pretty soon. Love me some Pikmin. My sweat. Talked about Mega Man a little bit today, and I'm a tough debate on if I want to pick up the Battle Network Legacy Collection.
I just saw Wario64 tweet about it, and I was like,
Well, he did.
Yeah.
Is there a deal?
Probably. I mean,
I was gonna
assume
say,
if
like,
it
wait
comes
till
from-
the deal.
If it comes from his account, I assume it's because there's a deal.
All right, maybe look into that.
I looked at it, I was like, what are the odds?
Right. Love those games. Just kind of getting nostalgic for them. Kind of want to maybe revisit them. A thank you is going to go to. We had a trip to Atlantic City, and we didn't lose money. So thank you for that. Earned a
There you
little
go.
bit. It's always nice. And then my fuck you is going to go to Dave the Diver, and I'm going to give. I don't know how I missed this. I don't know if there's a tutorial I missed or something. I just wasn't aware of it. I don't know if y'all know, and I hope you don't, because maybe I can teach you something today.
About to find out.
Your wait staff that is not currently active being staff members, I didn't realize you can dispatch them on missions to collect ingredients.
What?
Yeah, see, y'all didn't fucking know either.
What
So
the
every single
fuck?
day, when you just have staff sitting off to the side doing nothing, they could be going and getting ingredients for you. Like, soy sauce or miso or curry blocks. You can just have them go off and collect shit.
Are you
Otherwise,
fucking
they just sit
kidding
there and
me?
do nothing. Yep. Like I said, fuck you, Dave the Diver, for somehow just completely skipping over that tutorial because I just randomly found out about it today when I was kind of messing around with,
When you
with
go
my
into the
wait staff.
waitstaff menu, there's the option for dispatch. I thought that meant like let them go. Like you're no longer you're getting.
Yep.
Which now that I think about it, that doesn't make any sense. What the
Yep.
fuck? I never clicked on it.
I decided to investigate that myself today, and I realized that means dispatch them on a mission to collect ingredients.
Motherfucker.
So, Nick, I'm even though you're further in the story, I'm pretty sure I've played more days than you. I've missed out on so much free shit. It doesn't
Also,
cost
I
you
don't know
anything.
how we ended up in this situation where I've somehow I've passed Nolan in the story, and I even have access to like mechanics and systems that he doesn't have access to. But he's played way more of this game than I have.
Is based. Well, yeah.
I guess
I don't know, because you go on shitty little dives. Apparently, I bet he's earned more money than you and has purchased more things than you.
Maybe,
without a doubt. I still love the shit out of that game, though. That game's so
it's a good game. All right, that's my 4-player minute.
Nolan, the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, is the deal that was just tweeted out was $31 for the Switch version on QVC.
What I've been seeing a lot of this QVC shit pop up lately.
I still want to play One Step from Eden, which is
all right. Chris Davis, you're up.
My 4-player minute is going to be a supreme fuck you. We didn't talk about in the headlines today, but the ESRB just had a brilliant idea this past week that I hope they all burn in hell for. They have proposed to the FTC an application for facial age estimation.
Oh my!
Which is designed to guess the age of users using the front-facing camera of a cell phone. They want to use that as a method for controlling children's access to video games based on their rating scale.
Okay, gotcha. So they just want to take pictures of kids.
Yeah, they just want to take pictures of kids. Yeah. And they'll totally just use it for verification of whether you're old enough to play a video game. They certainly won't sell your children's data.
Holy fucking shit. I
don't know about that.
I hear what you're saying, Chris Davis, but I think Nolan just nailed it on the head. Like, what the That is creepy as shit.
It is absolutely fucking creepy. Like, just beyond the fact that most facial recognition apps have a lot of problems with people who do not have bright white skin. Like, it's ridiculous that they're taking pictures of fucking children and storing them in a database on the cloud.
Gray Woos in chat says it's going to be a nightmare for people with baby face.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a nightmare in general, but like, just they're pushing back on this. They really want to make this happen. Like, fuck them and everything they stand for. Like,
that's a big no from me. Big no, hard pass.
No, not in this day and age. Not with digital privacy being such a fucking nightmare on the internet. Like,
Sonji says I'm gonna get locked out if I shave. Joke's on you. I would never shave.
the thing is, I would not put it past the fucking app to block you from doing stuff because you fucking shaved your face. Or heaven forbid you get a haircut, you know?
There's so many problems with this. There's no way in hell it'll ever become a thing, but it's still disgusting that they think that they're gonna try it anyways.
And there's no way, even if the ESRB had infinite amounts of money to make this app, like there's no way that it would be even 25% functional or accurate. Like,
yeah, it's pretty much awful all the way around.
So fuck the ESRB, and I hope this never happens. And if it does happen, I hope it gets legislated as fuck.
Add it to the pile of shitty software being developed. I'm guessing using AI and shit. Just fuck all of it. All right. My 4-player minute starts now. I've had a few people ask me to share my final thoughts on Final Fantasy 16 because I finished that game 2 nights ago. And I guess to deliver some final thoughts, because obviously when I started that game, I was in a very positive place, and then we discussed this game on the podcast for at least 2 weeks, I think, and our conversations probably came across pretty negative,
because they were. Because
there's a lot of negatives to discuss with this game. I think this is an incredibly flawed game. It's nowhere near my favorite Final Fantasy game. Even if I do like it more than 13 and 15. And the thing is about this game.
Do you like it more than 15 or 13? Though?
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of liked those.
Now here's the thing. I don't like it more than Lightning Returns. Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns.
Okay, what about 13-2?
13-2, I mean, here's the thing. I remember liking 13-2, but I couldn't tell you a thing about 13-2.
And you won't be able to tell me a thing about this game, and
No, I think that's. Here's the thing. Somewhere in this game, for me, was a almost 50-hour quote unquote RPG. There's a really great game. I think Final Fantasy 16, if could have trimmed all the fat, taken out most of the side quests, made it a linear game, stopped trying to introduce all these big open spaces that aren't fun to explore
know, dude.
at all.
I still remember that tweet you made.
What tweet? Why do you always seem to have a tweet that you like to throw back in my face? What tweet are you talking about?
Do I do this a lot?
Yes,
you do it all the time.
Yes.
What's the tweet? What did I say?
You were all stoked about that big open space. I remember.
No, I was at first, very much so. Yeah, but obviously, I said that at a time when I didn't have the whole game for context or whatever, and I had a shit ton of problems with the side quests. I found them to be I've talked about this. I found them to be completely just boring, yawn-inducing. And even though the environments look a lot better than Final Fantasy 13, at times it feels just as linear as Final Fantasy 13. So yeah, I feel like if they had just trimmed all the fat and made it a linear game and stopped pretending like it was an RPG, because it's not. There's no system in this game that makes it seem like an RPG. It is straight up an character action game. If they had, and I don't have a problem with that. The fact that they experimented with the genre for Final Fantasy, not what I take issue with. It's the fact that they tried to, in addition to turning it into a character action game, they also tried to pretend like it had RPG systems that it doesn't.
Yeah.
There's no.
They're just bad.
I mean, you have no. I never once read the specifics of what happens when I leveled up, because you have no say in it. I never once put any additional thought into what I had equipped, other than, did my base stat go up? Is it yellow? Sure.
Yeah,
okay.
Did the story wrap up in a way you were happy with?
The story is what kept me going. The story is what I wanted to, what I became invested in. And while I don't think it's my favorite story in the series, it did hook me. And at the end of the day, it ends up feeling like this really weird but kind of intriguing blend of Game of Thrones, which is what it very much starts out as, right? It feels very Game of Thrones at the beginning, and eventually becomes this weird hybrid baby of Game of Thrones and the weird shit that Final Fantasy always does, right? Like, because at the end you're like, it's like you're fucking fighting God. Like, if you look at the beginning of Final Fantasy 16, like, I never expected to be. I was like, this is clearly a very different kind of story here.
Well, the
But
trailers were just a bunch
they
of brawling
go
with elemental gods.
they
to be
go
fair.
full Final. I mean, yeah, the icon stuff always seemed like it was going to be, that's kind of the. I always expected the icon shit to kind of be like, okay, this is where it gets kind of like over the top shit. That's where they get all that stuff out of their system, right? Nope, it goes way beyond that.
Goes
And the
full
weird thing
Kingdom
is,
Hearts.
it goes full. It does go full Kingdom Hearts. And at the end of the day, the fact that stuff was kind of blended with Game of Thrones, which is that kind of stuff would never find its way into Game of Thrones. It made it kind of an intriguing like hodgepodge that I wanted to see to completion. So I did. I finished
they're
it.
all metaphors for nukes.
I know, but like we're talking. Just I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything, obviously, but like it gets crazy, right? Like Final Fantasy crazy. And I ended up liking it. I in fact, it's one of those things where like the story, which is what kept me going, ended up, in my opinion, being pretty satisfying. I'm not at all saying Brad like to imply that like the credits rolled, so like it's 10 points better in my opinion. It's definitely not. This game has pretty much zero chance of getting onto my top 20 for the year unless every game between now and the end of the year just completely misses the mark. There's no way this game is going to make it on my top.
This seems like a number
my top.
19 for you. Just saying.
Brad, like I said, the only way that would happen is if everything that all these amazing games that we're all excited to play between now and the end of the year somehow fucked up. This is by far the most disappointing game of the year for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So far. So far.
Ditto.
Well,
But
let me ask you this: barring the discourse that has been going about this game, like you still enjoyed yourself.
What? No, don't answer that. That's crazy. We've spoke in detail about our thoughts on this game, and we don't even know what you're talking about with the discourse.
My opinion of the gameplay has not changed. I don't like the combat particularly. It's flashy, it looks cool, but it's not deep. It's repetitive, and it doesn't give you like just I don't want to get into it. No, I did not really enjoy the gameplay of this game.
Okay.
Period. I think it's a cool story for the most part, and that stuff is interesting enough to pull you through. This would have been.
I'll say this one day. I think someone's gonna make like an edit of this game for like YouTube that is just like kind of the main story cool stuff, because it's really easy to cut out a lot of the filler side questy stuff that's in the main quest and just have like a really cool Final Fantasy 16 movie.
If this game was a 20-hour long linear character action game with a cool story that you just follow along linearly, I think this would have been in my top 10 easy. But it's not. It's like a 50-hour slog with fake RPG systems, and I don't know. It's not good. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Anyways, that's it. That's our show this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week, next Thursday night, which is when we record these things live on Twitch. So be here. If you're listening to the show, if you're not part of our Discord, we'd love to have you. Please jump in. Please join us at discord.gg/4Player. And yeah, that's it, guys. We'll see you next week. Be good to each other. Play video games. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.